Brian, it's so good to have you. Brian Cranston,
Oh
welcome
my
to
gosh,
Longer
Jose, it's great to see you
Tables.
again, my friend.
It's amazing to see you again. And I'm only thinking that we were together, we met a bit more than a year ago in Los Angeles. We were doing a pilot for a show that is about to see light any second now to help raise funds for World Central Kitchen, but more important, to celebrate life through food and friends. You were in
Yeah.
that beautiful house in LA, and you were helping me cook scallops, Taylor Bay scallops, singing scallops, so many name scallops. Do you remember? And you want to tell our
Hmm.
friends of Longer Tables how that moment
I
went?
remember it
What do you
all
remember?
with Jamie Lee Curtis, and we were in the kitchen, and I told you that I'm representing the scores and scores of people watching you and loving what you do for the world and admiring cooking, but from afar because I'm not a cook. I have jealousy and envy towards you and everyone who can walk into a kitchen and know exactly what to do and it feels so spontaneous and you taste a little, oh, I know exactly what it needs, and you throw it in, you take a pinch of that and a pinch of that, and you're throwing it together, and it feels like controlled chaos. It feels like I have a sense of what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I know what spices are going to go well with something. And I'm so envious of that. I wish I had a fraction of that knowledge, but I don't have confidence when it comes to cooking. So that's what I want to learn for you. Oh, my teacher, my teacher.
So Jamie Lee Curtis was
Yeah.
there, O'Shea Jackson was there. I'm gonna tell you, this was the quickest hour. Well, we were there a few hours, but really we very much shot what we shot like we were
Yeah.
friends cooking in the
It
kitchen
really
and eating
was.
together in real time. It went so quickly, so fast, and I cannot wait again to be repeating many more moments like this. But on that moment, I remember I cut myself. And usually in a TV show, when you cut yourself on a cooking show, the chef seems always has to look like perfect. The chef is never wrong. The chef never cuts himself. The chef is always right. The chef. And what was
Yeah.
great is that we kept going. And I remember Jamie grabbed my hand, put it up in the air, and hold my hand in the air. And with her other hand, she began chopping what I was chopping in the first place. And this very much created the moment. And you say you are not a cook, but I have to say I was quite impressed because you manage yourself fairly well dealing with those scallops. Because when you see them and they open, you don't know if they're going to bite you. When you're trying to turn them, they may bite you, and you were not
I
afraid,
venture
my
into
friend.
it with blind faith, and I feel that though, Jose. I do. I feel like I'm on the cusp of being able to cross over and begin to have some level of confidence, but I just need some more input. I need some more guidance. I need that in order to feel
Well, Brian, don't worry. We need people like you in our world because if not, how cooks like me
it.
we
That's
will sell cookbooks? How restaurants like mine will be full of people like you if you knew
yes.
how to cook? That's why I always say if you write a cookbook, make sure you don't give recipes that are perfect. Let's make sure that people find their ghost when they're trying to replicate the recipe of a chef. And so they see that, oh my God, even with a recipe, I cannot succeed. When you go to the restaurant, oh my God, I don't think I can duplicate this. So, Brian, on behalf of the chefs like me, on the restaurant owners across the world, thank you for not being able to feed yourself because we know you are one
I
of
am
our
certainly
happy
that.
guests. We
And I
need more people
appreciate
like you
your
in the
cooking.
world.
I appreciate how it tastes and the experience. As you were talking about that, it reminded me that we have similarities in your world and my world. When I do a play, um, every night is somewhat different. There different things. I may have not slept well the night before, or I may have a cold, or I may have gotten bad news, or I may be extraordinarily happy for some reason, and I allow that character that night, that performance, to feel that, to allow it to change, and not try to be a carbon copy every single performance. And that's the way cooking is to me. It's like allow their room for the moment and not try to duplicate everything over and over and over again.
All the way, my friend. All the
Yes.
way. For how long you
Well,
did
I
that
first did
Broadway
it
show?
in Boston for a
First, it
few
was
months there,
Boston.
and then we brought it to Broadway, and I did that for 6 months, 7 months, back in 2014. So it's been 10 years now.
Uh, so, do you love more acting in a movie? You love more acting on a series like Breaking Bad, or you love more doing live theater? Oh my God, I cannot be wrong because it's not a second take. I'm in front of a live audience. If you could choose, what's your favorite? Is there one, or
Well,
you love
because they're so
all the same
different.
equally?
The way you create a character is no different, whether it's for stage or for film, or even for a series. But the experience itself is very different. In the theater, there's nothing like it because you get an immediate reaction from your audience. They tell you with their expressions whether they laugh or gasp, or you can see them push back in their seat if they're frightened or insecure, or yeah, it's amazing. And your job is to tell the story that night. You reach your hands out, they place their hands in yours, and you lead them on a journey of storytelling. And again, I see parallels in cooking. And so I think the most rewarding thing for me has been on stage, to be able to experience a beginning, middle, and end every performance, and that's theater, and allow the audience to engage with us on stage in an ebb and flow of communication. And it's a beautiful thing when it's working well.
So obviously, for the ones that are listening to us right now, and they may not know everything about the great Bryan Cranston, you come
Mhm.
from a family of actors, but in a way, initially you didn't plan, for what I know, of being an actor. It's true that you trained to be
Yes,
a policeman.
it's
Why?
uh,
And I want to know about what happened, how you went to thinking about being policeman to end what
in
you
retrospect, it's
become
clearer to me
later.
that my father left the family when I was 11 years old, and I didn't see him again until I was 22. So he was out of my life, and that left a void for 11, 12-year old on the cusp of teenagehood. And I think now I know why, is that I think I was looking for father role models. And to me, boy, a police officer was very strong, very masculine, and like, wow, that seems like something to emulate. Um, and so I joined a police explorer group, which is 16 and 17 and 18-year olds, high school age, that assist the police department. It's a branch of the Boy Scouts. And here in Los Angeles, it was through the LAPD and through whatever division you were lived close to. And for me, it was the West Valley Division here in the San Fernando Valley, where I was raised. And I joined because it seemed like a good organization, and they traveled a lot. And I was a poor kid. We didn't have much money at all. So traveling was really kind of out of the question. And this organization, once you got in, you started traveling. My brother was ahead of me, and he was in 2 years before I was able to join at 16. And they went to Hawaii, they went to Japan. And I thought, oh my God, this is a way for me to see the world. And I can also then study this police work. And I went to the academy, 111 16-year-old boys and girls. And I graduated first in my class. And so and I thought,
Wow.
oh, I didn't even realize I had an aptitude for police work. I guess I'm pretty good at this, and so obviously this is what I should do for a living. And so that's what I thought I was going to do. And I went to a junior college before transferring. I was going to major in police science. And the second year of this junior college, I took an elective course of acting, and everything changed. All of a sudden, I was in a scene where I'm supposed to kiss this really pretty girl, and I thought, this is mind blowing. I'm 19 years old, and my job in this class was to really kiss this girl passionately. That was my job. And I thought, oh my God. So, needless to say, that was the end of my pursuit of police work. I started pursuing acting from that point on, quite proudly because of the girls.
So you mentioned about the opportunity to travel through that police school.
Yeah,
Did you travel a
yes,
faraway place that
16 years
blow your
old,
mind
and
away?
it
Wh-
was 1972, summer of 1972, and I went with this group to Europe, and we were in Europe for 5 weeks. Went to different countries: Germany,
Different countries in
Austria,
Europe?
Switzerland, France, Belgium, Holland. I mean, we were all over the place as guests of Interpol and other police departments in those countries. And, we traveled with our sleeping bags, and we were all.
Was the first
It
time you left
was. It
America at
was the
this
first
point?
time that I had ever left the country. Well, with the exception of a quick trip to Tijuana, Mexico. But yeah, it did.
Tijuana is like the United States, and I know the people in Tijuana are going to say, "What are you talking about, Jose?"
Yeah,
But it's
yeah, it
almost
was.
like the United States, and so that trip, I guess, had a huge influence in you to see the world under a different
Indeed,
lens. I guess.
it was eye opening to see and to be around and hear different languages and different cultures and different ways of dress and different points of view. And it's impossible to travel and not have that experience of a mind expansion kind of thing.
So, so many things that shaped the man, the person you became. Obviously, your dad, whatever, living, you joining the police, you this big trip to Europe that will be something amazing for a youngster. The keys that made you realize, oh man, acting is my thing. Fascinating
It was
story.
so
Couldn't be any
crazy
other
and it was
way.
so immature, but I give myself some cut myself some slack because I was 19, and that's the age your mind is raging, your hormones are raging, you're trying to figure out, where do I belong, what do I do, how do I fit in, what do I feel, the difference between a relationship and sex, and how do you develop one. I mean, everything is going on. It's upheaval in the most interesting way.
So, for my experience with you, I've noticed that you are very meticulous on everything. You will be in the kitchen with me and you will be putting the knife back on its perfect place. So the knife has the place to belong. If you talk to friends and family about you, everybody will agree that you are a very meticulous planner. I'm definitely not. I live life whatever in a very disorganized, crazy way at times. But I'm very curious about, and if you can share how this works for you. So, for example, tell us about your decision making process. That I know you are also very meticulous about why you make the decisions you make.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, for example, I think our listeners at longer tables will love to know how did you decide to take the part of Walter White in Breaking Bad? Because you are
Mm-hmm.
meticulous for every single decision. What happened there? What was the process for you to decide? Oh yeah, I'm
Well,
doing this.
I've
So
thought a
no
lot
way, I'm
about
doing
that
this.
and the person I've become as an adult. And I would venture to say that, Jose, your chaos is actually a joie de vivre. It's a celebration of life, right? It's like feel free in the kitchen, feel expressive in the kitchen, or and with your girls and your family. It's like you're traveling and you're visiting places, and I think for me, the chaos that I lived in as a child was not a happy one. Was not um, expressive in a way. It was reductive and oppressive in many ways. And so I think for my maturation, I needed to find a method that could put things in order that weren't um, upsetting everything. So I think I found comfort in finding that kind of order and decision making and really thinking through things and being meticulous in my decision making. And that's carried on through my adult life and how I select my projects. Breaking Bad, I learned early on that if I am able to identify well written material and I attach myself to that person who wrote that material and this material itself, that it's like the high tide raises all boats. It's like it will not fail you. A project may not be commercially successful, but it will be artistically successful if you are attaching yourself to well-written material. And so that's what I've patterned my career after, is looking for that really well-written material. And I can, again, let me relate it to cooking. If you just take any kind of artichoke and some, yeah, that's fine, it doesn't matter. If you don't inspect it, if you don't look at it, if it's several days old or a week old, it's not going to be as good as the one that you picked and smelled and said, this is, I feel the firmness, this is going to be better. This tomato is the one I want, not that other one. And so you're picking and choosing. You're meticulous yourself in the kitchen because you know that every little ingredient is going to add, incrementally to make that meal better. And I know too in my business, if I'm meticulous in how I'm selecting my material, it's going to make my career incrementally better. At least I'll be happier about the
Mm.
choices. And if I make a mistake, I make a mistake and it's my own.
So we live in fascinating, but at the same time we could always argue complicated moments. But life is fascinated, right? And every moment is an opportunity to enjoy. But obviously, from my early days in restaurants, and especially when I began being in positions of responsibility, I would say it was hard for me sometimes to leave the issues that the restaurant was facing because I don't know, an oven broke or a fridge broke, and we were having a big major problem, or things that had to do with people's life, or when I go with World Central Kitchen to a mission in a hurricane, or after a war, and when I come back
Mm-hmm.
to my normal life, and I have a hard time sometimes to disconnect from a restaurant life or from what I see on the field. And thanks God I have my wife and my children and friends that help me. But let's bring it to you. like Walter White that you mentioned, not like you've done not so many other amazing roles, but is one of my favorites of yours. Is my favorite of yours, and I know so many of us we think that was fascinating to see how you took Walter White through so many episodes and
Mm.
through a roller coaster, fascinating Thelma and Louise kind of ride in biblical proportions. But then you are doing this character already for so many hours, so many days, for years, the few seasons. So was it hard in a way to be him for so many years? Because wow, that you live that person, you laugh with the person, you feel for the person, you feel good, you feel bad, you feel scared. How do you, as a person, Dutch actor, is able to cope with characters that are so
Um,
powerful?
I'm able, over the course of many years of experience now, um, for lack of a better description, but it's almost like a switch. When I focus on work, I'm turning the switch on. I go in, I get myopic, and I just focus on learning the lines. Why are these lines important? How do I connect them? What does it mean to me emotionally, intellectually, physically, and those things? And I go to work and I do the work. And then when I'm done with the work, I flip the switch off because I've learned that I don't want to live in the body of my characters long. I want to come back to be me. And my wife and my daughter expect me to be me, not to be those characters. And I owe them that as well. And I owe myself the right to step away from the character. And so I was able to learn how to do that, to disconnect once I'm done for the day with a character. And I had um, a ritual that I would do. I would go into the makeup and hair trailer after a day, and I would take two hot, moist towels, and I would wrap one on the top of my bald head and just leave it like a turban. And then I would take another one and wrap it around my entire face, almost as if I'm about to get a professional shave. And I would just sit in the chair and allow the moist heat to just draw out the toxins of the day, both the physical dirt and also the emotional dirt that that character had to live in. And I wipe it all away. I put some moisturizer on, and I'm done. And I leave. I take off his clothes, and I leave him there at the studio. I don't take him home with me. I never did. And because film and television is done in piecemeal, we do a little bit of pieces, bits and pieces every day, and later it all comes together as one. I was able to do that. It's a little more. It's a little different in on stage when you are doing a full beginning, middle, and end, where you're reliving those moments every performance, and and you drop down into it, and you have an emotional experience and a gut punch and a challenge intellectually and emotionally, and it's like, oof, you can get a little woozy from the performance, and you have to recover and come back. But my ritual, I would imagine my ritual is something akin to your ritual. When you are ready to start cooking, it's like if you take an apron and you put the apron on and tie it, it's kind of telling you, okay, we're getting ready for work. We're getting ready to focus on something new right now. And that's the same thing, whether you use a talisman to get you into or out of a mode.
So people of longer tables, because my friend Brian knows this is really a podcast that we talk about life, but especially about food and food issues. Brian is the first guest ever that after every question, especially the ones that didn't have anything to do with food, Brian always ends with a great explanation Dutch metaphor for all of us used to be connecting our love of food in a way connected to
Mm,
his craft of making us all believe in whatever is the character
mm.
he's representing. I love you for it even more. Um, so, was clear for me that you are able to build a perfect wall. But has you ever noticed that any of your characters, because so much repetition, that some of those attributes or characteristics kind of got inside you,
Hmm.
like was part of your skin, that all of a sudden one day you are behaving as Bryan Cranston, but that all of a sudden maybe your wife or maybe a friend noticed that, oh, this is a new characteristic on Brian that I was not aware. Has ever happened to you as a person that is a touch of someone,
Yes,
something
uh-huh.
just became
I
part of you?
think I think we are all pervious as human beings. We are able to soak up the thoughts and ideas and expressions of our lives, of what we've experienced, and that's a good thing. It's just like a musician wants to be able to not play the same thing he did as a teenager as he does as a grown man with children or so. Your life has changed. Embrace the change. Allow it to change you. I bet I'll do the same thing. I'll bet what you thought you were making when you were in your 20s is now a different recipe than at your age now. And and it doesn't mean that you were doing it wrong before. It's just different. It's just the way it is.
I get it. Here we go again. People have longer tables where Brian ends with a perfect comparison, bringing and creating a bridge between food and acting. And that's why we do love him. So you have
Yes.
a mezcal company, Dos Hombres, and I'm the lucky one that has one of the few bottles signed by the two owner partners, with obviously the only person you could be doing Dos Hombres Mezcal with Aaron Paul,
Right.
your co-star in Breaking Bad. So I guess starting a liquor company, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe it's a lot like starring in a movie, because you have to
Hmm.
do a lot of promotion too before people get to know about
Right.
that movie or that series. So I'm right. Did you do a lot of trouble? And more important, was this a fun project because you spent so much time with Aaron that at the end you had to keep the relationship in ways that
Yes.
will keep
That's
uniting you
exactly why
beyond
yeah, we
the
started
years you
Dos
spent
Hombres
together?
Mezcal because of the fact that 3 years after, look at you. For those of you who can't see this, he just poured a little glass of Dos Hombres Mezcal into a glass. Oh, that's beautiful. Um, I hope you enjoy that. Yeah, we missed each other.
It's unbelievable.
It was 3 years after the end of Breaking Bad, and we had seen each other for almost 7 years on a daily basis, and doing very intimate, difficult, sometimes fun exchanges of points of view, and our characters were very different from each other. But in truth, Aaron and I are not that different from each other. We're both very very hardworking. Um, Blue collar guys. Uh, Neither one of us had money growing up. We both are in long term marriages, and we're very lucky in our personal lives and our professional lives. And we have the same point of view that we are blessed to be here. We don't take any of it for granted, and it's all about passion. I told Aaron when he suggested that we start Dos Hombres, and I said, the only thing I'm interested in is pursuing passions. If I can fall in love with this, then I'm absolutely on board. So we went down to Oaxaca, Mexico for a week, and we tried about 100 different mezcals, and it was not working because we have different palates. I like a very smooth introduction to my spirit. I want to taste something and then want to know more about it. He comes from the Scotch world where he even says, I don't mind being slapped around a little bit when he drinks a spirit. And for me, it's not it. If I'm grimacing or feeling like my esophagus is on fire, it's not for me. Smoke is coming out of my ears. I'm walking away from that. So I didn't think we were going to find it until after the week, the very last stop we had in San Luis del Rio, beautiful little village in the mountains. And we tried this spirit, unnamed at the time. And we both felt, oh my God, this is a blend of both of our interests. It was warm enough and strong enough for him on its own, but it was inviting enough for me. And it was just this aha moment that we thought, oh my God, we finally found this. I didn't think we were. And so we made a deal with the mescalero. Um, his name is Gregorio Velasco, and he has now become a partner of ours. He owns part of the company, and we make this with him. It's his juice, and Aaron Paul and I often say that we went down to Oaxaca to find a mezcal, but in actuality, the mezcal found us. And
So did you jump it in the moment you look each other in the
yeah,
eyes, Aaron and you across that little room? Or did you
we
hug? Did you
did.
kiss? What happened in that moment that you thought,
It was exactly
Eureka,
that,
we found
but
it?
we were so stunned that we found it because 98 or whatever, how many that we tasted before,
You were
it's not going
giving
to
up.
work.
You
It's
were
not going to
giving
work.
up.
He likes it too strong, and I like it, according to him, too weak. And it was like no, and we just came toward the middle, and found this just perfectly blended mezcal that we love, and it just blends with. Anyway, it's done so well. We've been on the market for over 4.5 years now. We're the number 5 mezcal in the world, and it's going incredibly well. And we're as proud of Dos Hombres as we are of any of the television or movie or theater that I do. It's a part of my passion, and and I realize we're in a very fortunate position that that's all we have to. The litmus test that we have to take is this something I'm passionate about or just interested in? And I had to make that distinction because for a long time there, I was saying yes to projects that I was curious about. Oh, that's interesting. And I would go into it and I go, oh, but I wasn't really passionate about it. I was curious about it. And so I had to differentiate between the two.
Okay, so people of longer tables, those hombres, you cannot go to Amazon Plus, Amazon Prime, or Netflix and try to look at because it's not something you're gonna see in your TV. It's something you can find in a store near you where they sell drinks because it's the mezcal that Jess, Aaron Paul, and Bryan Cranston has created, almost like their baby. I'm a little bit confused though by the logo, by the branding because he's lovely. Those hombres, two
Yeah.
men. We know you are two men. But the logo above has a little agave plant, beautiful green, and on the
Yes.
side has two donkeys. So the name is Dos
Yeah.
Hombres, but it's the two donkeys. Is the two
Mhm.
donkeys Dos Hombres? Were the two donkeys that they were part of your partner in Oaxaca? Because I'm still confused why the name is
Well, they're
Dos
two
Hombres, but there
male
you have two
donkeys.
donkeys.
They're they're work
Ah,
animals,
they're male.
and
Okay.
Aaron and I are work animals. We are. We have a strong work ethic. We love to work, and we're passionate about it. And it's also Dos Hombres. It's not fancy. It's not saying, "Hey, we're two elitist Hollywood guys, and this is what we don't think of ourselves that way. We've been very fortunate in this industry, but what it really comes down to it is that we go to work. And in fact, when we have been ascending up the ranks of mezcal, every time we achieve a new ranking, like, oh, we're in the top 20, we toast, we take a sip, salud, we take a sip, put it down, go back to work. Same thing. We broke into the top 10. Yay!
Hmm.
Congratulations, salud, sip, put it down, go back to work. And that's what it is. Celebrate the moments, but then realize
It
it's
it
yeah,
feels like you. It feels like you and Aaron. Yeah, it doesn't feel like Suntory
Yeah.
times from Lost in Translation.
Thanks.
It feels like so you. And yes, you can. This is a commercial, people. You can find it in Oyamel, my Mexican restaurant in DC, or China Poblano in
Yes.
beautiful Las Vegas at the Cosmopolitan Casino. I really love it. It's so smooth, and you're right. It's exactly everything you describe. What I didn't imagine is when you go promoting a movie or series, yeah, you go to the different festivals or the places you have to go to do that promotion. But to start promoting this, I didn't imagine that you had to go to very big kind of supermarket, retail kind of places. You were there
Mhm.
in Costco serving the mezcal
Sure.
yourself in the early
Not
days
even
of
in the
promoting
early
this.
days. When we're traveling
Even today.
salesmen. We're peddling our spirit, and we wouldn't do it. We couldn't do it if we weren't proud of it. I wouldn't want to. There's nothing worse than trying to promote something you don't really believe in. So I never want to be in that position. That's why it's so important for me to carefully select the projects I'm doing, and even if they're tiny or small, it's important to me. And same thing with Dos Hombres. It has to be important. It has to be something I'm passionate about, or I won't do it. I can be an audience. That's where the curiosity is. I can be curious or interested in the subject. I will remain an audience for that, or a patron of that restaurant. But I don't want to own that restaurant. I don't want that headache.
Yeah, you tell me. So obviously we use your mezcal first time. I tasted before, but I made I remember a passion fruit
Ooh,
margarita when we kind of filmed
right.
that dinner party diaries. I don't think Jamie Lee Curtis was bought into it. Uh,
Yeah.
um, uh, but I really love it. Do you have any favorite cocktail to do those hombres mezcal with, or you are the type of guy
Hmm.
that likes to
I think
sip it
that's
like
my
I'm doing right
favorite. I
now
like it
on my
neat.
own?
Every spirit should hold its own by itself. No other ingredient to it. And if you want to add it after that, great. So I like to sip it neat. Sometimes I like to put a big rock in it, big nice cube. And as you taught us once, don't take cubes from the refrigerator. Take the nice, pristine, beautiful cubes that are not influenced by the other food that's in your freezer, but clean and
Yeah, like it doesn't taste like
or
freeze
ice cream
dried
or
shrimp or
yeah,
freeze dried
yeah.
chicken or ice cream that has been there
Yes,
for the
I
last
learned
two
that from
years and a
you.
half, and it's
Yeah.
like a crime against humanity.
So,
Yep.
but you can make a great cocktail, a Negroni. A mezcal Negroni is fantastic. An old
Oh,
fashioned, a
wow!
Paloma, a margarita. It just goes on and on. It's
Look at
it's
you,
a penicillin, a penicillin with this. It's just a beautiful cocktail.
Bryan Cranston. Cocktail memories. I love that. So before, at the very beginning, we were talking obviously that you were not, in a way, a cook. But what really we want to know in longer tables, what you like to eat, about your favorite meals.
Hmm.
Who cooks with you for
Yeah,
you? Your wife, your friends? You are more a couple, a guy that likes to go to
I
restaurants.
do.
All of the above. Your favorite food, what you like, your sinful food that you die for.
I think my favorite meal would be like a seafood pasta. Just just fantastic with a nice white wine connected to it, or even a red for seafood. I believe that whatever you like to drink, don't tie yourself up to, well, I'm having seafood, so I have to drink white wine, or I have to do whatever you want. The customer is right. My audience members are always right. So I whatever I feel like at the time, but I think I also love just a nice piece of salmon, something clean with fresh vegetables. You can't. I'm I love the carbs. I love potatoes and rice, and I mean it's in pastas. It's just the best, and nothing better than a freshly baked, loaf of olive bread or something with dipping into some olive oil and just oh my god, I'm getting hungry just talking about this.
My God, I think all of us at longer tables, we're getting hungry. So you heard here first an olive oil bread deep in olive oil. Why? Because Bryan Cranston doesn't do things just halfway. He doubles down on the things he loves. And that's why we do love him. All right. So yeah, seafood pasta,
Mm-hmm.
seafood. You're a seafood guy. I see. I see you in
Mm-hmm.
Alaska fishing wild salmon. Oh my
Yeah, I've
God, I
done that.
can see this image. Oh yeah. All right. So I hear you're looking to do another again a Broadway
Possibly.
musical.
You know,
And can you give us some details
um,
or at least whatever you are thinking? I mean, I wish it was a fly on the wall when Lin Manuel Miranda was the star, just putting the
right.
first notes and the first words and on Hamilton. I got my chances with him sometimes using impromptus, just coming up with new crazy songs. Any detail
Um,
you can give us? Maybe any little singing you can do of what
uh,
may be that maybe
yeah.
not, but one day may
I
be.
don't know. I mean, like everything, it depends on the ingredients. It what comes. Yeah, it really does. It's like it is the right team coming together to create something. I was developing something, a musical that didn't pan out, um, because we saw a difference in how it should be presented. Um, I was a little more adventurous and they were a little more risk averse. And so we parted ways amiably, like these people. But so I'm pivoting to doing probably a Broadway play in 2025. But it's not yet set, so I can't really talk about it. But it's meaningful, has impact, and it'll be fun to play.
Unbelievable. You know, all my life I wanted to be an actor.
Woo!
I sing in the shower. If it's a little role you have for this Spanish chef,
Let's do
please, you
it.
have my phone. Call me. When we were filming over a year ago, this kind of show, I don't know how to describe it, cooking together, kind of you told me, but I read it. So this is very high up in your mind that in 2026, Bryan Cranston is planning to retire, at least temporarily, to live abroad. I'm guessing you want almost to recreate that moment during your police academy in a way trip to Europe or whatever. So, any solid plans yet already? And what are
Well,
you looking forward to?
as the media often does, it's not as concerned with accuracy as it often should be, because that's really their main responsibility. But I never said I was going to retire in this interview. I said that I've been working solid for very fortunate for like 25 years, and I feel like I've come to a point where I'm a little depleted of ideas and fresh ideas and new ways to enter into creating characters and writing and so I said at some point after I turned 70 in 2026, um, I think I need to take a break. I need to hit the pause button. I need time to reset myself. I need real life experiences. And the last 25 years, for the most part, have not been real life experiences. They've been great experiences. I've been on stage on Broadway and in London and doing movies all over the world and television series and show. It's been phenomenal. But that's not how real people live. And so I haven't had an influx of real experiences. And I miss that. So a couple of the things that I want to do is learning how to cook. And because I don't know how to cook, I thought I'm not going to go to my death not knowing how to cook. I want to be able to get to the point where I have at least enough confidence to be able to invite some friends over and cook for them. To me, that is like a singing a love song to someone. You are spending time and energy and creativity in preparing something that is not only essential for the human body but a gift. And I want to be able to produce that. So that was one of the reasons that I needed to have a reset to my life. I want the life experiences so that I can experience different things.
So I think, my dear friend Brian, my kitchen, but I have a feeling many other kitchens in America and around the world, our knives, our cookbooks, our souls, our experience is there at your service. So I cannot wait to see what 2026 brings you and your wife in your search for
I'll be
cooking.
there.
I think it's
Thank
fascinating.
you. I
I'll be there. I'll be watching.
th-
And my kitchen
Thank
is
you, my
open for
friend.
you every
Thank
single
you.
day. You know it, my friend. So thank you for being with us, Brian. I love you. I cannot wait just to spend more time with you. I think everybody here with me in longer tables just feels listening your voice. I don't know, like refresh. You have such a peaceful, thoughtful voice, and especially how you are always able for a guy that says doesn't know how to cook, always be connecting it to food. Uh, was one philosopher that I mentioned way too often. Some people will say that said in 1826, Brillat Savarin, a Frenchman, and I don't quote Frenchmen often in public. Nonetheless, he said, tell me what you eat, and I will
Mm,
tell you who you are." In a way, I think in 2026, that's what
mm.
you are
That's
gonna
beautiful.
be doing.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend, for the offer.
This is longer tables, and you are
Thank
always
you.
welcome
Good
to
seeing
this
you.
table.
Look forward to seeing you again.